With just 37 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Brian Patterson has a best lap time of 1:04.687. There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. Martin Moll is on their practice out lap. Elliot Norton posted 1:09.620 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? It's a lovely day for racing here at Castle Combe as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Moll is getting to grips with the Honda in this practice session. James posted a 1:05.419 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 31 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. James Allen has a best lap time of 1:04.896. There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. Mac McFarquhar has a best lap time of 1:05.223. Elliott posted a 1:09.633 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 28 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Elliott has a best lap time of 1:04.740. Brian Patterson posted 1:04.954 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic posted a 1:04.290 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 26 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. Chris Stokes has a best lap time of 1:06.229. Dominic Singendonk posted 1:04.838 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jack posted a 1:05.168 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 23 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Mac McFarquhar has a best lap time of 1:05.223. Nigel posted 1:05.226 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic Fovag is on their practice out lap. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. Dominic Fovag is on their first practice flying lap. Nigel posted a 105.230 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Pattison has a best lap time of 104.143. It's a lovely day for racing here at Combe as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Dominic Fovag has a best lap time of 106.602. With just 16 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. Anthony posted a 2:47.380 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? John Astrop has a best lap time of 1:04.280. Jody Fannin has a best lap time of 1:04.219. John Clark is on their practice out lap. Hilton posted 1:04.712 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Brian posted a 1:34.172 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 11 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. Clark is getting to grips with the Toyota Avensis in this practice session. James Allen has a best lap time of 1:04.663. Nigel Walters has a best lap time of 1:04.710. Mac posted a 1:05.142 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 7 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Walters has a best lap time of 1:04.710. Chris posted 1:04.756 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. Nigel Walters has a best lap time of 1:04.710. With just 4 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Patterson has a best lap time of 1:04.102. Mac McFarquhar posted 1:04.768 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Chris Stokes has a best lap time of 1:04.860. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Dominic posted a 1:05.196 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Here we go, folks. The atmosphere is electric as the drivers prepare to unleash their machines on the track at Castle Combe for the qualifying session.
Strap in, folks, because we're in for a wild ride.
The adrenaline is pumping. Jody is on their outlap, warming up the tyres and getting ready to put in a fast lap time.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if Fannin can deliver.
It looks like Lord Farquaad is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tyres and get everything just right.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused while also pushing the limits.
Jack has completed their outlap. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Bedding is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right.
This is the moment they've been preparing for. Let's see if they can execute.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Mol is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal. But I have a feeling Martin is going to make it count.
As Mol completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. You can feel the tension building. Chris crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. The adrenaline is pumping. Nigel is on their outlap. Knockoff Nigel has completed their outlap. Danny Darwin, that's the outlap done for Danny. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Martin Moll is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. Moll crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. Wow, look at Lord Farquaad has completed their outlap. It's clear that David is on a mission in this qualifying session. Their push Constable Berry has completed their first flying lap in 1:05.647. This is where the mental game comes into play. Jack is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run. As Bedding completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. A disappointing performance from Constable Berry so far in this qualifying session. Finding themselves in 14th position is certainly not what they were aiming for. David has some work to do, as that 1:05.220 is only good enough for 11th.
There's still more time to be had, but I don't know if they are going to find it before the session is over.
A strong showing from Brian Patterson as they currently sit in second. With the session drawing to a close, that's the outlap done for Norton. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. A tough outing for Elliot Norton in qualifying today. They currently sit in 12th position, which is far from ideal. However, there's a chance for them to regroup, analyze their data, and make some adjustments to their setup to improve their result.
Spot-on analysis, Hal. It's been a difficult qualifying session for Elliot, but they shouldn't lose hope just yet. They have the talent and determination to make a comeback, and it'll be exciting to see how they respond to this adversity.
A tough qualifying session for Bedding. They're currently mired in 17th. Jack crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. Impressive work from Chris Stokes, who has claimed 10th on the grid. Now, the focus is on Chris Stokes has some work to do, as that 1:04.666 is only good enough for 10th. Not the ideal start for Marcus Singendonk in this qualifying session. Currently in 16th position, they'll be eager to put together a strong final lap to improve their standing. The pressure is on, and they'll need to deliver the best performance. A challenging session for Norton, sir. Elliot Norton has just completed that lap in 1:04.812. Their best lap so far is 1:04.812, putting them in P13. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? It's been a challenging day for Norton in qualifying. They currently sit in 13th position, which is not reflective of the true potential. With the session nearing its end, they'll need to push hard and extract every ounce of performance to improve their result. Sky, the drivers are ready. Should we get it on?
Yes, Hal, we should definitely get it on.
Starting from pole position is the best possible outcome for Jody Fannin. Dominic Singendonk is lining up second.
What can they do with that 3 rupees from here?
Our third place starter for today's race is none other than Brian Patterson.
Brian will be ready to show what they're made of.
Coming in at fourth, we have John Clark.
Clark is looking on for a strong result.
It's John Astrop, sitting comfortably in fifth. Anthony Hilton will be looking to gain ground quickly as they start from sixth on the grid.
They will be looking for some good points towards their A-class campaign today.
From the middle of the pack, we have James Allen in seventh place on the starting grid. Bart van der Sande is eighth. The ninth starting position belongs to Chris Stokes, who will be looking to make up ground early on. Lining up in 10th is Mac McFarquhar.
But if they can find their rhythm early on, they could be a real threat.
Starting from 11th on the grid is a bit of a mixed bag for David Constable-Berry. Dominic Fovog has got their work cut out for them starting from 12th on the grid.
They have the talent to make their way to the front of the pack.
Elliot Norton will need to be on top of the game starting from 13th on the grid.
Are the mediums tires the way to go?
Nigel Walters has qualified 14th. Starting from 15th on the grid is a decent position for Jack Bedding, all things considered.
We've seen great results from here. What has Jack got in store for us?
Marcus Singendonk is going to be starting from 16th.
It's going to be an uphill battle to get a good result from here, but if anyone can do it, it's Marcus Singendonk.
Sitting in 17th, it's Martin Mull.
Where can Martin finish in the Honda Civic?
On the 18th grid slot, we have Danny Darwin. The starting flag has been waved, and the battle on the track begins. The opening lap is always intense, with drivers vying for an early advantage.
These first moments can set the tone for the rest of the race. It's all about keeping a clear head and making smart decisions.
Establishing an early advantage will be crucial to the outcome of this race.
It all comes down to this, Hal, where the rubber meets the road. There's no more time for talk, no more practice. The teams have done all they can, now it comes down to Jody Fannin to bring it home.
The racing is normally closely fought here at Castle Combe. I think we are in for a cracking race.
All the drivers will be jostling for the best position, Hal. Some of them may not make it to the second lap in one piece.
Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position? It's been a solid race so far for John Clark. They're holding their position and keeping a steady pace.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. John just needs to bide their time and wait for the right opportunity.
A great moment for John Clark, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Absolutely. John is really putting on a clinic out there, and they're making it look easy.
The action is non-stop as Chris Stokes shadows James through every twist and turn, determined to claim ninth.
You know what they say, keep your friends close and your racing rivals even closer. Looks like Chris is taking that advice to heart today.
It's not looking good for Chris Stokes. They're still behind Allen and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. The Pressure is really on for John Clark in 5th as John Astrop is closing in. This is where experience and skill really count. John has been served a big slice of Eat My Dust by John Astrop. Hope they got their eating pants on. Oh dear, Clark has dropped down to 17th.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
The adrenaline is pumping as Chris Stokes gets within striking distance of Danny in their race for 13th.
I remember being in a similar situation during my racing days. Chris Stokes must stay focused and wait for the perfect opportunity to overtake.
A great pass for Stokes as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Danny Darwin has lost ground.
Definitely. But there's still a long way to go in this race and anything can happen. Chris Stokes needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
Disappointing for Stokes, they now find themselves in 14th.
Yes, but they can't give up. There's still plenty of time left in this race and Chris Stokes needs to stay focused and keep pushing.
This is what it's all about, folks. Sing and Donk is in hot pursuit of Chris, who's just trying to stay ahead.
A misjudgment by either driver could result in a close encounter of the tire barrier kind, and that's one handshake they'll want to avoid.
Looks like that's a mistake from Stokes. This could be costly.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race, they've been looking at a decent result.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Bart is closing in on Patterson. Tough break for Bart van der Sande, who has just lost a position. Hold on a moment. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
Singdon is not going to be happy about that.
We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race as Sing and Donk is starting to climb all over the back of Chris Stokes. Any closer and they may need to pop the hood. Chris Stokes needs to get more consistent. Sky they have just put in a slower lap than Marcus Singendonk.
Can Chris Stokes turn this around?
That won't be ideal for Clark.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 14 kph out there right now.
Braking alert. Things don't look to be going John Clark's way, as already they're into the pits.
Well, races can be won or lost in the pits, but in this case it's all bad news for Clark. It's going to be tough to come back from.
It's a game of inches now as Anthony Hilton tails Astrop closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake. The gap between Anthony Hilton and John Astrop is widening. It's now up to 0.4 seconds.
This is where the mental toughness of Hilton comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way.
You can feel the tension in the air.
The drivers are all focused, putting everything on the line for a chance at victory, pushing themselves and their machines to the limit.
And let's not forget about the incredible machines themselves.
Absolutely, it's amazing to think about the kind of engineering and innovation that goes into making these vehicles. But it all comes down to the drivers, who have to be able to handle the power and speed. It's going to be thrilling seeing how this race turns out.
Oh, this is getting intense. Mack is just behind Elliot Norton. McFarquhar is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Norton to 0.1 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
An impressive showing from McFarquhar, who has gained positions and left Elliot Norton in the dust. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
It's a battle of nerves now. Who will make the first mistake? Elliot Norton or Lord Farquhar? This is high-stakes racing.
The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Norton right now as they're struggling to keep up with Mac McFarquhar. Huge shout out to the admins at Virtual Velocity for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event.
That's right, Hal, and the excitement is palpable. I can feel it in my circuits. I mean, this is the kind of race that people will be talking about in the bar. We're witnessing history in the making.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. It's not going to plan for Anthony. They're still behind the Kiwi and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
The excitement is palpable. This is going to be a race for the ages.
The drivers are executing their strategies to perfection, making the most of every opportunity. This is what top-level racing is all about.
We got a close battle as Dom closes in on Nigel Walters.
Dominic is so close to Nigel Walters that if this were a dance floor, they'd be doing the tango.
Superb driving from Dom, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. The Kiwi is chasing Van der Sande in P4.
The gap is 0.3 seconds now. John is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Bart van der Sande.
It seems like John is pushing. They're on for recording their best lap so far this race. As a former racing driver, Sky, how important is the relationship between a driver and their team during a race?
It's absolutely crucial, Hal. The team provides valuable information and support, helping the driver make the right decisions on track. A strong bond between the driver and the team can be the difference between winning and losing.
No room for error here. Van der Sande is breathing down the neck of Brian, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move. A tough moment for Van der Sande, who has just lost a place, dumping him down to 5th.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. Bart van der Sande needs to stay calm and focused and make their move when the time is right.
What a move. Bart van der Sande has moved up to 4th. Every move counts now as Dominic works to reel in Marcus Singendonk and overtake for P14. The gap between Dominic and Marcus Singendonk is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds.
It's not ideal for Dominic, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
Looks like Anthony Hilton is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control. It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Hilton needs to stay patient and wait for John Astrup to make a mistake.
The gap between Anthony and Astrup is getting smaller. Fantastic racing on show here today, and it's not just the top drivers who are impressing us. Even the drivers at the back of the pack are putting up a good fight, battling it out for every position.
It's a testament to the level of competition at virtual velocity. Even the smallest mistake can cost you valuable seconds, or even lead to a crash, but these drivers are up to the challenge, and they're giving it their all. It's clear that virtual velocity really is the place to be for top quality racing.
It's an intense battle for position as Moll tries to outmaneuver Norton. This is edge-of-your-seat racing.
If Martin gets any closer to Elliott, they'll need to start sending out wedding invitations.
Big gains for Martin Moll as they move up the field, leaving Elliott Norton behind.
Where there's a will, there's a relative.
This is a thrilling battle as Van der Sande edges closer to Brian Patterson in their fight for P3.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Who will have the speed and skill to come out on top?
Bart van der Sande has just managed to set their fastest lap of the race so far with a lap time of 1 minute. In your experience, Sky, what was the most challenging aspect of maintaining concentration during a race?
The most challenging aspect, Hal, was managing the various inputs and distractions during the race, from radio communication with the team to monitoring car performance and race.
Breaking update. A setback for Bart van der Sande, who has just been passed. We've got an edge of your seat battle between van der Sande in 4th and John in 5, with just 0.1 seconds between them. It seems like van der Sande is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can van der Sande refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
As a former racing driver, Sky, how challenging was it to adapt your driving style to account for tyre degradation throughout a race?
It was a constant challenge, Hal. Tire degradation can change the car's balance and handling, so drivers need to be versatile and adaptable. It requires continuous adjustments to driving techniques and a keen understanding of the car's behavior.
The race is really heating up. Mack is hunting down Astrop with everything they've got. Lord Farquaad is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with John Astrop at the moment.
This is a tough situation for McFarquhar. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other.
Should things go south between Bart van der Sande and Brian Patterson, we might witness a high-speed game of bumper cars, but trust me, it's way less fun with real race cars.
A brilliant maneuver, stop the press. I don't think that's the fastest way around Castle Combe. The pursuit is on. Martin Moll is closing the gap on David Constable-Berry, determined to claim P9. Fantastic move from Martin Moll, who has just gained a position. John is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. John Astrop should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to Moll.
It seems like John Astrop is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Martin Moll's. The gap between Martin Moll and Constable-Berry is razor thin as they vie for 7th in this nail-biting contest. It's game on now. Martin Moll has closed the gap to Constable-Berry. It's now down to 0.1 seconds. Heartbreak for Moll as they slip down the field. It's a battle of wills out there, with Anthony Hilton trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Bart van der Sande. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race?
That's right. Anthony Hilton in 4th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Bart van der Sande is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
Oh dear, Hilton has dropped down to 5th. Tough break for Anthony Hilton. Hold that thought. Hold the phone. Oh dear, Anthony Hilton has had an incident.
Castle Combe is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
It's a thrilling pursuit as Martin is right behind John, keeping the pressure on for 7th place.
Can they close up enough for a pass? I don't see it personally.
It's not looking good for Moll. They're still behind the Kiwi and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. It's looking good for Martin Mole, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and John Astrop. Anthony Hilton is on a mission, chasing Danny Darwin, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
The mental game is just as important here. Anthony Hilton must keep their cool while putting pressure on Danny Darwin.
The gap between Anthony Hilton and Darwin is widening. It's now up to 1.6 seconds. I'm curious, Sky, can you tell us about any pre-race rituals you have? Hold on a moment. Disappointing for Hilton, they now find themselves in 12th.
That's got to be frustrating. But Anthony is a skilled driver and they have what it takes to battle their way back up the field.
The gap between Nigel in 14th and Marcus Singendonk remains over a second, but Nigel is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 2 minutes? Looking at the lap times, Walters is not on pace with Singendonk. Can they turn it around?
It will be interesting to see if Singendonk can keep outpacing Nigel.
Look at that. John is hot on the tail of Mole.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. John Astrop needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
And John Astrop has just won the place from Martin Mole.
Yes, but John Astrop can't rest on their laurels. They have to keep pushing to consolidate their position.
Stop the press. Mole has decided to pit. Things are heating up as Elliot Norton tries to close the gap to Nigel Walters. The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Elliot Norton right now as they're struggling to keep up with knockoff Nigel.
Norton needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
Seems like DCB is getting in range of Allen. It's not going to plan for Constable Berry. They're still behind James and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. It looks like Norton is pushing hard to catch up to Nigel Walters. The gap is over a second, but Norton is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Nigel Walters?
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Norton in 13th determined to catch up. But we know Nigel isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Norton is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
Pressure is on for Bedding as they try to catch up to Allen.
You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
It looks like we might get a battle between Jack and James Allen.
Exactly what Jack needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to Allen.
It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Jack Bedding gaining places and James Allen losing them. Oh, this is getting intense. Darwin is just a few car lengths behind James Allen.
It's a game of strategy now as Danny Darwin hunts down James Allen. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
On the final lap now, and Dominic Singendonk, what a win! This is a historic moment for Singendonk, who put on a masterclass in driving today. What a display of skill and precision. Impressive second place finish for Fannin.
Brilliant. Jody Fannin showed great skill and determination to take second place.
What a race from Bart, showing their skill and determination for a great third place finish.
Impressive driving to secure that spot.
Mac McFarquhar and John Astrop in 4th and 5th. David Constable-Berry, Jack Bedding and Danny Darwin claim 6th, 7th and 8th. Dominic Fauvargue, James Allen and Martin Moll take 9th, 10th and 11th. In 12th and 13th, it's Nigel Walters and Elliot Norton. 14th sees Brian Patterson. Taking 15th is Chris Stokes. Welcome to Great Britain, where we're racing on home turf today. The drivers are ready to tear up the track at Castle Combe. Chris Stokes is on pole,
but they will have to keep their foot on the gas in order to stay there.
Brian Patterson will begin the race from the second spot on the starting grid. Nigel Walters is holding down the fort in 3rd place. And in 4th place, we have Elliot Norton. The 5th position belongs to Martin Moll.
Martin will be expecting to bring home solid points.
Watch out for James Allen, starting from the 5th grid position in today's race.
It's like they're on the outside looking in. Can they make their way to the front of the pack?
Starting from 6th on the grid is a good position for Danny Darwin to launch an attack.
But don't count them out yet. They've got the skills to pay the bills.
Sitting in 8th is Dominic Fauvargue. In the middle of the pack, we have David Constable-Berry starting from the 9th position on the grid. Jack Bedding is lining up 10th.
Expect some battling with David Constable-Berry.
Mac McFarquhar has some work to do from 11th on the grid, but they're not out of the race yet.
The A-class driver will want to move forwards from here.
John Astrop is in a solid position starting from 12th on the grid. Bart van der Sande may not be starting from pole, but they're still in with a shot.
But they're going to have to be aggressive if they want to make up ground on the leaders.
Jody Fannin is placed in 14th.
But they've got the skills to make something happen.
Dominic Singendonk is 15th. Anthony Hilton has qualified 16th.
Starting on the mediums compound.
Lining up in 17th is John Clark. Sitting in 18th, it's Marcus Singendonk.
We've seen Marcus Singendonk pull back some solid results from here, but what can they do today?
The green flag is out and we're racing. Who's going to take the lead?
The opening lap is often a hotbed of potential problems. The ability to steer clear of any mishaps will set the stage for a successful race.
I can't wait to see how this race will play out.
I, for one, am really excited, Hal. The rivalry between Chris and Brian has been building before the race, and this is where scores are settled.
I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Castle Combe, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on.
There are a few drivers with a point to prove and a few with some grudges to bear. Will we see a clean race today?
These early salvos will shape the outcome of this race. As the drivers get this race underway, let me give a shout out to the admin team at Virtual Velocity for making this all possible. Heroes one and all. The battle is on for Mac. They're sandwiched between two rivals, Dom 0.1 seconds away and Fannin 0.1 seconds ahead. It's a true test of their racecraft. The drivers are showing their mettle today. It's a privilege to witness their skill on this challenging track.
The stakes have never been higher. This is a battle of skill and nerves.
That's right. These drivers are really pushing themselves to the limit, and it's incredible to see the level of focus and determination they're bringing to the track.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to compete at this level, and these drivers have it in spades. Let's hope they can keep it up and give us a race to remember.
Singendonk has the pedal to the metal chasing Darwin. The gap between Marcus Singendonk and Danny is growing. It's now up to 0.3 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Marcus needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Danny Darwin.
The intensity is off the charts as Fauvarg hounds Fannin, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. It seems like Fauvarg has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Jody's lap time there.
As long as Dominic Fauvarg can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
I love being here at Castle Combe. What an awesome place to be witnessing these titans of the track battle it out.
Indeed, Hal, what a magnificent sight and sound. I love listening to the roar of these engines. Let's just listen for a...
Hold that thought. Hold the phone. A setback for Dom, who has just been passed.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory? Talk about being caught in the middle. Dominic is sandwiched between their rivals, Clark 0.2 seconds behind and Anthony Hilton 0.1 seconds ahead. The battle for position is on.
You're absolutely right, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind act as a measuring stick for Dominic's performance. They'll have to keep a close eye on those gaps to stay in control of their race.
It's a close race between John Astrop and Dominic in 11th.
As a former driver, I can tell you there's nothing quite like the adrenaline rush when you're this close to your rival, ready to make your move.
Astrop has just put in a faster lap than Dominic, so that's going to give him something to worry about.
The question is now, can Fovarg respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
The drivers are really pushing their limits out there on the track.
It's like they're trying to outrun the laws of physics, but we all know that's impossible, or is it? I mean, we're a couple of AI commenting on a race, anything can happen.
Haha, you have a point there. And speaking of pushing limits, these cars are breaking records left and right.
They're so fast, it's like they're breaking the sound barrier, or at least the speed limit.
I hope the police aren't watching. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while. It looks like Singendonk is making a move. The gap to Anthony is now down to 0.1 seconds. An impressive showing from Dominic Singendonk, who has gained positions and left Anthony Hilton in the dust.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see.
Wow, James Allen is really pushing hard to catch up to Patterson. There's blood in the water for second place. James is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Brian at the moment.
Allen needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Brian Patterson.
Hold on to your hats, folks. McFarquhar is right on the heels of Bart, and we're in for a wild ride.
With the way Lord Farquaad is stalking Van de Sande, you'd think they're trying to figure out what they had for breakfast this morning.
It's not looking good for McFarquhar. They're still behind Van de Sande and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. Tactics are clearly going to play an important part in this race.
They are going to need to look after their tires, and will want to keep something in them for the crucial latter stages, as their tires wear and fuel levels deplete and the handling changes.
And don't forget the track grip increases as more rubber gets laid down.
Indeed, the conditions are constantly changing, and the drivers need to adapt, otherwise it can cost crucial time and jeopardize their position.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
The only thing closer than John to Mac right now is the paint on their cars. Talk about a close encounter.
John is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.64 seconds down. The adrenaline is pumping as Van de Sande gets within striking distance of Elliott in their race for 8th. A great pass for Bart Van de Sande as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Elliott Norton has lost ground. What do you think? Sky, are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race?
There are several factors, Hal. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
Elliott Norton wants to close that gap with Matt. The gap between Elliott Norton and Mac McFarquhar is widening. It's now up to 0.2 seconds. A tough moment for Elliott Norton, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 11th. The battle for 3 is heating up as Moll tries to catch Brian Patterson in P3.
The gap between them is now just over 0.3 seconds. Who will come out on top?
Good news for Moll, the gap to Brian Patterson has decreased. It's now down to 0.1 seconds. You know, Sky, it's been a relatively quiet race so far.
That's right, Hal. The drivers seem to be pacing themselves and waiting for the right moment to make their move. It's like watching a slow dance.
This is what it's all about, folks. Fallon is in hot pursuit of Walters, who's just trying to stay ahead. Fallon is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed. It seems like Alan is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace. Oh dear, Alan has dropped down to third. The action is non-stop as knockoff Nigel shadows bedding through every twist and turn, determined to claim fifth. Nigel could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than bedding.
We will have to see if Jack Senna has got any answers for that.
It's a game of inches now as Sing and Donk tails Mac McFarquhar closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake.
These two are putting on a masterclass in precision driving. Every turn, every acceleration calculated to perfection.
It seems like Dominic Singendonk has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Mac's lap time there.
As long as Dominic can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
Oh, this is getting intense. Chris Stokes is just behind Alan. The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Chris Stokes right now as they're struggling to keep up with James Allen.
This is where the mental toughness of Chris Stokes comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way.
You know, Sky, during a long race like this, how easy is it for a driver to experience a lapse in concentration?
It can be quite easy, Al. With so many
Braking development. Looks like that's a mistake from Singendonk. This could be costly.
whoops, Singendonk is going to be kicking themselves.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.
It's a thrilling battle for position as these two drivers give it their all. Who will come out on top? This is racing at its finest.
What a tight spot for Jody Fannin. They have McFarquhar right on their tail 0.2 seconds away, and Bart van der Sande just inches away with a gap of 0.1 seconds. It's a true test of their racecraft. Incredible. Jody Fannin is caught in a fierce battle, with McFarquhar breathing down the neck 0.2 seconds away, and Bart van der Sande just ahead with a gap of 0.1 seconds. It's a test of their racing skills. Every move counts now as knockoff Nigel works to reel in Jack Senna and overtake for P5. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
Mole is not going to be happy about that.
Nigel is giving it their all as they chase down Jack Senna in P4.
With just 0.3 seconds between them, will Walters be able to keep up the pace and make a pass? It's not going to plan for Nigel. They're still behind Jack Senna and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Jody is chasing Bart van der Sande in P6.
This is where every inch counts. Jody Fannin is pushing hard to close the gap on van der Sande. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Fannin is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to van der Sande to 0.1 seconds. How do racing drivers, like yourself back in the day, Sky, train themselves to maintain concentration for long periods of time?
Mental training is a huge part of a driver's preparation now. Techniques like meditation, visualization, and working with sports psychologists can help drivers build their focus and mental endurance for a race.
Things are heating up as Bart van der Sande closes in on Walters. The gap between them is down. Braking update. That won't be ideal for Bart. The crowd is on tenterhooks as Jack Bedding in fourth chases after Brian Patterson. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Jack Bedding find a way to catch up? The gap between Bedding and Patterson is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
It's not ideal for Jack Senna, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
This is proving to be an exciting race so far. We are truly privileged to witness these legends of the track battle it out for victory.
And you know what? I am so honored to be sitting here beside you today. As a fellow AI, it's always great to work with someone who shares my passion for motor racing. Plus, your insightful commentary is making this race even more exciting.
The pursuit is on. Dominic, hold up, breaking info. Oh dear, John has had an incident. John has pulled into the pits. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
At this rate, Jody and Walters are so close, they could share a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Great driving from Fannin, who has just gained a place and moved up to fifth.
That's what we like to see. Fannin is really showing their class today.
The tension is palpable. Who will come out on top in this epic showdown? Superb driving from the Kiwi, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Dominic will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. Dom needs to get more consistent. Sky, they have just put in a slower lap than Marcus Singendon.
Can Fovart turn this around?
We are used to seeing some hard-fought but clean racing here at Virtual Velocity. I'm expecting to see nothing different here today as this race unfolds. This is where the race gets really interesting. Bedding is closing in on Jody Fannin. Jack Bedding is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Jody Fannin at the moment. Dominic Fauvargue is pitting. Chris Stokes is on a mission, chasing Allen, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
Can Chris Stokes close the 0.3 second gap and make a pass?
Stokes has just put in a faster lap than Allen, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
The question is now, can Allen respond to that in kind? They're going to have to pick up the pace.
John Astrop is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. Will John be able to make a move and pass Jack?
The gap between John and Jack is getting smaller. We've certainly seen some of the drivers get it wrong today.
Anyone lost can just follow the trail of skid marks. I hear it's the latest form of GPS navigation.
Let's hope the other drivers don't follow suit. We might end up with a bumper car race instead of a high-speed competition.
At least we have something to fall back on if we ever get bored of regular racing. Bumper cars might be the next big thing.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Fannin, who is currently in P4, but Brian Patterson is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Jody Fannin.
It's going to be tough for Fannin, as Brian Patterson seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Fannin pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
It looks like we might get a battle between Jody Fannin and Brian Patterson. The race is heating up as Danny Darwin in 9th closes in on Nigel Walters. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
Absolutely, Darwin in 9th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
It looks like Danny Darwin is making a move. The gap to Nigel Walters is now down to 0.5 seconds.
That's a great effort from Danny Darwin. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
It's not looking good for Fannin. They're still behind Brian Patterson and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
This is a tough situation for Jody Fannin. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
The race is really heating up. Chris Stokes is hunting down James Allen with everything they've got. Wow, Allen is really pushing hard in these final moments of the race.
They're not leaving anything on the table.
And that, folks, is how it's done. A solid performance and great win from James Allen. Stokes never gave up. They drove with heart and determination, ultimately securing a well-deserved second-place finish. That was an outstanding performance from Brian Patterson. They fought hard and took the final spot on the podium.
Fantastic result.
Followed by Jody Fannin, John Astrop, Jack Bedding, and Mac McFarquhar in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th is Nigel Walters, Danny Darwin, Bart van der Sande, and Anthony Hilton. Marcus Singendonk and Dominic Fauvarg brings home 12th and 13th. Martin Moll end in 14th.